The siren screamed across Earth Colony Theta 7, a sound that turned Tom Bradley's blood to ice. He squeezed his daughter Mia's small hand tighter as thousands of desperate people rushed toward the spaceport gates. Dust clouds rose from the ground as boots pounded against the red soil. The enemy fleet had been spotted 3 systems away. Military command gave them 2 hours. Maybe less. Tom had already made peace with staying behind. At 34 years old, he'd lived a decent life. But Mia was only 6. She deserved a chance. She deserved to see her 7th birthday, to grow up, to have a future that wasn't burned to ash by alien weapons. The crowd surged forward like a wave, nearly knocking Mia off her feet. Tom scooped her up, holding her tight against his chest. She buried her face in his shoulder, her small body shaking. He could feel her heart racing like a trapped bird. "It's okay, baby girl," he whispered into her hair. "We're almost there." But Tom knew the math. 20,000 colonists. 1 transport ship. Capacity for maybe 300 passengers if they packed people in like cargo. The Galactic Council had promised more ships, but they never came. They never did. Humans were still the new kids in the galactic neighborhood, and nobody rushed to save the new kids. The alien overseer stood at the boarding ramp, a tall creature with gray skin and too many joints in its arms. It wore a translation device around its throat that turned its clicking sounds into cold, mechanical English. Tom had seen its species before at the Colony Administration building. They were efficient, emotionless, and they followed rules like religion. "Capacity reached," the overseer announced. "Final boarding call. 1 passenger only. 1 seat remaining." The crowd erupted. People shouted, begged, offered money and valuables. A woman fell to her knees, clutching a baby. 2 men started fighting, throwing punches until security pulled them apart. Tom felt sick. This was what humanity looked like when death came knocking. He pushed through to the front, using his size to clear a path. When he reached the ramp, he set Mia down gently and knelt in front of her. Her blue eyes were wide with fear, tears streaking down her dirty cheeks. "Listen to me, sweetheart," Tom said, forcing his voice to stay steady. "You're going to get on this ship. There's a nice lady in a green jacket right inside the door. You see her?" He pointed. Mia nodded. "You go straight to her and tell her your name. She'll take care of you." "What about you, Daddy?" Tom's throat tightened. He'd never been good at lying to her, but right now he had to be. "I'm catching the next ship, okay? There's another one coming in 20 minutes. I'll be right behind you. Promise?" "I promise." The lie tasted like poison. He lifted Mia toward the overseer, but she twisted in his grip, grabbing his neck with both arms. "No. I don't want to go without you." Her voice rose to a scream. "Daddy, please. Don't make me go alone." Tom tried to pry her arms loose, but she held on with 6-year-old desperation. The kind of grip that came from pure terror. "Mia, baby, you have to." "I won't go. I won't." She was crying so hard she could barely breathe. The overseer's translator clicked with irritation. "Child must board now. Departure in 45 seconds. If child does not board, we leave empty seat." The crowd behind Tom roared in anger. Someone grabbed his shoulder. Another person shouted that they'd take the seat. The overseer raised one long arm, and security moved forward to restore order. Tom looked at the alien, then at his daughter's terrified face, then at the crowd ready to tear them apart. His mind raced through impossible choices. If he forced Mia on board, the trauma might break her. If he didn't, they'd both die. If he caused any more delay, the overseer might close the doors and leave them all behind. "She won't go without you," the overseer said, its translated voice flat. 30 seconds to departure. Make decision. Tom met the alien's dark eyes. "Then we both go." "Impossible. 1 seat. Put her on my lap. We'll take 1 seat together." The overseer's head tilted, calculating. Behind them, someone screamed in protest. The crowd was turning into a mob. The security team raised their weapons. In 15 seconds this would turn into a bloodbath. "Fine," the overseer clicked. "Both. Now. Move." Tom didn't wait for it to change its mind. He ran up the ramp with Mia in his arms, feeling the hate from the crowd burning into his back. As the doors hissed shut behind them, he caught a glimpse of a man holding his own daughter, watching the transport with empty eyes. That man would die today. His daughter would die today. Because Tom had taken their chance. The transport lurched into the air. Through the small window, Tom watched the spaceport shrink below them. In 2 hours, that entire settlement would be nothing but smoke and ruins. Inside the cramped passenger hold, Tom found a corner and sat with Mia wrapped around him like a koala. She was still crying, soaking his shirt with tears. He stroked her hair and whispered that everything would be okay, even though he didn't know if anything would ever be okay again. Above them, a small camera lens watched silently, recording every moment. The ship's artificial intelligence logged the footage automatically, tagging it for routine review. Just another refugee. Just another scared human. Nothing special. The AI had no way of knowing that this footage would travel across 3 star systems, passing through automated networks until it landed on the desk of the most powerful ruler in this corner of the galaxy. It couldn't predict that this moment, a father holding his crying daughter, would change the course of 2 civilizations. All it knew was that this human was exhibiting unusual behavioral patterns. High stress, yet protective instincts overriding self-preservation. The AI filed the footage under anomaly, further analysis recommended, and continued its other duties. Tom Bradley held his daughter and tried not to think about the family he'd left behind on that ramp. Empress Thera sat in her private chamber, surrounded by walls of living crystal that pulsed with soft blue light. Outside the massive windows, 3 moons hung in perfect alignment over the capital world of the Zentari Dominion. She'd seen this view for 800 years. It never changed. Nothing in her world ever really changed. She scrolled through the morning reports on her holographic display with one hand while sipping mineral water with another. The Zentari had 4 arms, which made multitasking efficient. Everything about their civilization was efficient. That was the problem. Refugee processing reports, Majesty, her chief advisor Corvin announced, his voice as emotionless as always. He stood near the doorway, his silver robes reflecting the crystal light. 17 transports arrived at processing stations overnight. All within acceptable parameters except one. Thera barely looked up. Exception noted. Handle it. There is a flagged video file. The AI systems marked it as a behavioral anomaly. I thought you might find it curious. Something in his tone made Thera pause. Corvin never used words like curious. Zentari didn't do curiosity. They did data analysis, strategic planning, and resource allocation. Emotions were classified as evolutionary baggage, engineered out of their genetics 12,000 years ago when they'd perfected their society. Show me. Corvin activated a projection in the center of the room. The video began with chaos, a cramped transport ship, refugees packed shoulder to shoulder. The camera focused on a human male holding a small human child. The file identified them as Tom Bradley and Mia Bradley, evacuees from Colony Theta 7. Thera watched the father arrange their tiny space in the cargo hold. He spread out a thin emergency blanket and made a nest of sorts, using cargo straps to create a barrier so the child wouldn't roll into the aisle. Simple. Practical. But then he did something strange. He took his oxygen supplement mask, each refugee received one for the 30-hour journey, and placed it on the child instead. The ship's atmosphere was breathable but thin at cargo level. Adults could manage. Children struggled. The father would suffer through 30 hours of thin air so his offspring could breathe easier. Why would he do that? Thera asked. His survival probability decreases significantly. Unknown Majesty. The file contains 30 hours of footage. The patterns continue. Thera leaned forward. Continue. The video jumped ahead. Hour 4. The child was crying, her small face red and twisted. Other refugees looked annoyed, exhausted. But the father just held her, rocking back and forth. He was singing something. The audio was poor, but Thera could hear the melody. Soft. Repetitive. The kind of sound designed to soothe. After 20 minutes, the child fell asleep against his chest. The father did not sleep. Hour 8. The child woke screaming from a nightmare. The father was awake instantly, already holding her, already whispering. How had he known? The Zentari used monitors for their offspring, sensors that detected distress and alerted professional caregivers. This human had no sensors. He just knew. Hour 12. Meal rations were distributed. Each refugee received 1 nutrition bar and a water pouch. The father split his bar in half, giving the larger piece to the child. She ate it quickly, still hungry. Without hesitation, he gave her the rest of his portion. He drank only half his water, saving the rest for her. He's starving himself, Corvin observed. Inefficient. But Thera didn't respond. She was watching the father's face. Even through the poor video quality, she could see something in his expression. Not calculation. Not strategy. Something else entirely. Hour 18. The child was bored, restless. The father took empty ration wrappers and folded them into shapes. Animals maybe? The footage wasn't clear. But the child laughed. She played with the garbage toys like they were precious treasures. The father smiled, actually smiled, despite his obvious exhaustion and hunger. Fast forward to hour 28, Corvin said. The father had been awake the entire time. His eyes were red, his movements slow. But when the child stirred in her sleep, his hand automatically moved to her back, patting gently. A reflexive action. Protective. Constant. Thera felt something crack inside her chest. Not physically, Centauri biology didn't work that way. But something deeper. Something she didn't have words for because her language had deleted those words 8,000 years ago. Play it again, she whispered. Corvin's eyes widened slightly, the Centauri equivalent of shock. Majesty? From the beginning. All 30 hours. She watched it 3 times. Then a 4th. Each time she noticed new details. The way the father positioned himself between the child and other passengers. The way he rationed their supplies to make sure she always had enough. The way he stayed awake, vigilant, protective, even when his body was clearly shutting down from exhaustion. The Centauri had children, of course. They had breeding programs, genetic selection, optimal development protocols. Offspring were gestated in artificial wombs, then transferred to educational facilities where they were raised by trained professionals and advanced AI systems. Parents donated genetic material and received quarterly reports on their offspring's progress. Clean, efficient, logical. No Centauri had held their child through a nightmare in 8,000 years. No Centauri had given up food so their child could eat. No Centauri had stayed awake for 30 hours just to watch their child breathe. And the Centauri birth rate had dropped 70% in the last millennium. Fewer and fewer Centauri chose to reproduce. It was always someone else's problem, someone else's responsibility. Why create offspring when you felt no connection to them? Thera stood abruptly, her forearms trembling. Where is Transport 47 now? Corvin checked his datapad. Approaching processing station Gamma 12. Arrival in 6 hours. Redirected to my personal station. The silence in the room was absolute. Corvin stared at her. 2 other advisors who had entered during the viewing looked at each other in confusion. Your Majesty, Corvin said carefully, that transport carries 300 refugees. Redirecting it to the Imperial station would cause significant. I don't care about protocols, Thera interrupted. I want to meet this human. I want to understand what he has that we've lost. He's nobody, Majesty. Just a refugee. A primitive. He's a father, Thera said, and the word felt strange in her mouth. Ancient. Powerful. Prepare guest quarters. Suitable for a human adult and a human child. High-quality provisions. Access to medical care. And Corvin. Yes, Majesty? Make sure they stay together. Whatever happens, they stay together. After her advisors left, Thera stood at the window, looking out at her perfect, efficient, dying civilization. Somewhere out there, a human father was holding his daughter, protecting her for no logical reason except that she was his. And somehow that meant everything. Tom was teaching Mia a card game using pieces of torn paper when the door to their section opened. He'd drawn numbers and symbols on each piece with a broken marker someone had left behind. It wasn't much, but it kept Mia's mind off the crowded refugee hold and the nightmares she'd been having. Daddy, is this a king or a queen? Mia asked, holding up a paper square with a crooked crown drawn on it. That's a queen, baby. See the longer. The door hissed open. 4 armored figures stepped inside, their weapons holstered but visible. They wore black uniforms Tom didn't recognize, and their faces were hidden behind dark visors. The other refugees in the section went silent. Someone whimpered. Tom's blood turned to ice. This was it. Someone had reported him. Someone had told the authorities he'd stolen a seat that wasn't his. They were going to arrest him, probably throw him off the ship or worse. His mind raced through possibilities, none of them good. Tom Bradley? The lead guard's voice came through a translator, mechanical and flat. Tom stood slowly, moving Mia behind his legs. That's me. Empress Thera has summoned you to the Imperial station. The words didn't make sense. Tom stared at the guard, trying to process what he'd just heard. I'm sorry, what? The Empress wishes to meet you. You are to gather your belongings and come with us immediately. Meet me? What? I haven't done anything. Your presence has been requested. Both of you. The guard gestured to Mia, who was peeking out from behind Tom's leg. Tom pulled Mia closer. I'm not going anywhere without knowing why. If I did something wrong, just tell me. But my daughter doesn't have anything to do with this. The guard tilted his head. You misunderstand. This is not an arrest. This is an invitation. The Empress wishes to speak with you personally. An invitation. From an Empress. Tom had heard about the Zentari Dominion. Everyone had. They ruled over 100 worlds, controlled technology humans couldn't even dream of understanding. Their leaders didn't just invite random refugees for casual conversation. And if I refuse? The guard paused. No one refuses the Empress. Tom looked around the refugee hold. 20 other families watched him with a mixture of fear and envy. Whatever was happening, he didn't have a choice. He nodded slowly. Okay. Give me a minute. He knelt down next to Mia, keeping his voice calm. Hey, sweetheart. We're going to take a little trip. Where? Her eyes were wide, scared. Somewhere safer than here. With better beds and real food. Doesn't that sound good? Are the bad men taking us away? Tom glanced at the guards. No, baby. These are soldiers. They're going to protect us. It's going to be okay. They gathered their belongings, which fit into one small bag. 2 changes of clothes, a water bottle, Mia's stuffed rabbit that had lost one ear, and the paper cards Tom had made. Everything they owned in the universe. The shuttle ride to the Imperial Station took 2 hours. Tom spent the entire time holding Mia, who had fallen asleep against his chest. Through the viewport he watched the station grow larger. It looked like something out of a dream. Massive towers of crystal and light, gardens that floated without support, ships coming and going like insects around a hive. When they docked, a different escort led them through corridors that made Tom feel like an ant in a palace. Everything gleamed. Everything looked expensive. Other aliens stopped to stare at them, whispering behind their hands. Tom held Mia tighter. Their quarters were larger than the entire apartment Tom had lived in back on Theta 7. Real beds with actual mattresses. A bathroom with running water that didn't taste like recycled chemicals. Windows that showed a view of space so clear it looked like you could reach out and touch the stars. And a separate room for Mia. A playroom. Filled with toys. Actual toys, not garbage fashioned into shapes. Stuffed animals, building blocks, art supplies, things Tom couldn't even identify but that looked colorful and fun. Mia's mouth fell open. Daddy, is this ours? I guess so, sweetheart. Are we rich now? Tom laughed, but it came out shaky. No, baby. I think someone just wants to be nice to us. Why? I don't know yet. A chime sounded at the door. Tom's stomach dropped. This was it. Whatever this was really about, he was going to find out now. Stay behind me, he told Mia. The door opened. Empress Thera entered and Tom's breath caught. She was tall, taller than any human, with 4 arms and skin that looked like it was made of pearl and moonlight. Her eyes were large and golden, completely alien, and she wore robes that seemed to shimmer with their own light. She was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Tom immediately stepped in front of Mia, his body language pure instinct. Protect. She'll defend. The Empress stopped. Her golden eyes fixed on him and something flickered across her face. Surprise maybe? Tom couldn't read alien expressions. Then she did something completely unexpected. She sat down on the floor, folding her long legs beneath her, making herself smaller. Less threatening. Please, she said in English, her accent strange but understandable. I do not wish to frighten the child. Tom didn't move. What do you want from us? I have watched you, Tom Bradley. I have seen the recordings from Transport 47. The way you care for your daughter. She looked past him to where Mia was peeking out. I wish to understand something. Understand what? Why you suffer for her. Why you give her your food, your sleep, your comfort. Why you protect her when it costs you so much. My people do not do these things. We have forgotten how. I wish to understand why you do them. Tom blinked. Of all the things he'd expected, this wasn't it. She's my daughter. Yes, but what does that mean? To you? It means... Tom struggled to find words for something that felt as natural as breathing. It means I love her. The Empress leaned forward slightly, her 4 hands folded in her lap. Her golden eyes were intense, searching. Explain love. Tom looked down at Mia, who was holding his hand with both of hers. How did you explain love to someone who'd never felt it? Love means she matters more than I do, he said finally. It means I'd do anything to keep her safe. It means when she's happy, I'm happy. When she's hurt, I'm hurt. It means she's the most important thing in my universe and I'd give up everything, my life, my future, everything, if it meant she got to have hers. The Empress was silent for a long moment. Then she said very quietly, my people had that once. 12,000 years ago. We engineered it away because we thought it made us weak. Did it? No, Thera whispered. It made us strong. And without it, we are dying. Tom didn't know what to say to that. So he just stood there, holding his daughter's hand, while an empress who ruled 100 worlds looked at them like they held the answer to a question she'd been asking for 8,000 years. Tom sat on the floor across from Empress Thera while Mia played nearby with a set of colorful blocks. The conversation had been going on for 3 hours now, and Tom's head was spinning. The Empress asked questions nobody had ever asked him before. Strange questions. Personal questions. Questions that made him think about things he'd always just done without thinking. When your offspring cries at night, Thera said, leaning forward with those intense golden eyes, how do you know to wake? Do humans have biological sensors I'm not aware of? Tom almost laughed. No, nothing like that. I just hear her. Even in deep sleep, part of my brain is always listening for Mia. It's like a switch flipped the day she was born. I became a light sleeper overnight. But why? Sleep is essential for health. Interrupted sleep causes cognitive decline, weakened immunity, shortened lifespan. Why would your biology sabotage itself? It's not sabotage, Tom said, watching Mia stack blocks into a tower. It's priority. Yeah, I'm tired a lot. Yeah, I'd probably live longer if I slept through the night. But what good is a long life if I let my kid suffer when she needs me? Thera's 4 hands folded and unfolded in her lap. Tom was starting to recognize it as a sign she was processing something that didn't fit her worldview. On Transport 47, she continued, you gave your daughter your food rations. You were already malnourished. You knew continued deprivation would cause you physical harm. Yet you chose to worsen your condition. Explain this decision. Tom shrugged. She was hungry. I was hungry. But she's 6 and I'm 34. I can handle being hungry better than she can. It's that simple. It is not simple, Thera insisted. It is mathematically irrational. If you die from starvation, the child's survival probability drops to nearly 0. The logical choice is to maintain your own health first. Maybe for a robot, Tom said. But I'm her dad. I can't sit there eating while she's still hungry. I physically can't do it. It would hurt more than the hunger does. Thera stared at him like he'd spoken in another language. Pain from not feeding offspring? This is psychological? I guess? I don't know the science. I just know that watching Mia go without something she needs feels like someone's putting a knife in my chest. So I give her what I have. Every time. Without thinking about it. Without thinking, Thera repeated softly. Instinct. Yeah, instinct. Mia's tower fell over with a crash. She laughed, delighted, and immediately started rebuilding it. Thera watched her with an expression Tom couldn't read. Your species is fragile, the Empress said. Short-lived. Vulnerable to disease, injury, environmental factors. Your offspring are even more fragile. They require years of constant care to reach independence. Yet you find this enjoyable? Tom smiled. Enjoyable isn't the right word. It's hard. It's exhausting. There are days I want to pull my hair out. But yeah, it's also the best thing I've ever done. Watching Mia learn something new, hearing her laugh, seeing her figure out how the world works, there's nothing else like it. We have educational programs, Thera said. Advanced AI systems that optimize child development. Our offspring reach full education in half the time human children do. Superior efficiency. But do you get to see them learn? Tom asked. Do you get to be there when they figure something out for the first time? When they're so proud of themselves they run to show you? Thera was quiet for a long moment. No, she finally said. We receive quarterly reports. Performance metrics. Development statistics. Tom looked at Mia, who was now trying to build an arch with the blocks. She was concentrating so hard her tongue stuck out a little. That's not being a parent, he said quietly. That's being a shareholder. The Empress flinched like he'd struck her. I'm sorry, Tom added quickly. I didn't mean to. No. Thera held up one hand. You are correct. We treated reproduction as a civic duty. A biological function to be managed and optimized. We removed all the inefficient emotional components. The attachment. The bonding. The irrational devotion you describe. Why would you do that? Because 12,000 years ago, our philosophers decided that parental attachment was a weakness. It caused favoritism, tribalism, illogical resource allocation. Parents would give everything to their own offspring while ignoring the needs of society. So we eliminated it. We created a system where all children were raised equally by professionals, with optimal nutrition and education and care. Sounds perfect, Tom said, but his tone suggested otherwise. It was perfect, Thera said bitterly. For 5,000 years it worked beautifully. Our civilization advanced rapidly. No child was neglected. No parent made poor decisions based on emotional bias. And then, slowly, our birth rate began to fall. She stood and walked to the window, her back to Tom. At first, we thought it was a medical issue. We checked our genetics, our environment, our nutrition. Everything was optimal. But fewer and fewer Centauri chose to reproduce. When we asked why, they said the same thing. Why bother? Someone else will do it. Creating offspring became something other people did. Like maintaining infrastructure or processing waste. Important, but not personal. Tom stood too, keeping Mia in his peripheral vision. You made it so people didn't feel connected to their own kids. So why would they want them? Precisely. Thera turned back to him, and Tom saw something in her golden eyes he hadn't seen before. Fear. We have declined 70% in the last millennium. Our greatest scientists cannot determine why. But I think I finally understand. Daddy, look. Mia called out. She'd successfully built her arch. I did it. Tom grinned and walked over, kneeling down. That's amazing, baby. You figured out how to balance them. You're so smart. He kissed the top of her head. When he looked back, Thera was staring at them with an expression of profound loss. You made it a job instead of a joy, Tom said softly. Kids aren't a project you optimize. They're not metrics on a report. They're people. Small, messy, irrational people who need you in ways that don't make logical sense. And yeah, it's hard. But it's supposed to be. Because the hard parts are what make the good parts matter. Thera's 4 hands were trembling now. We have forgotten this. All of it. An entire civilization has forgotten what it means to want a child, to love a child, to sacrifice for a child because they are yours, and that is enough reason. It's not too late to remember, Tom said. The Empress looked at him for a long moment. Then she said something that changed everything. Teach us. Please. Teach my people what we have lost. Tom blinked. Teach you? I'm not a teacher. I'm just a dad trying to keep his kids safe. That is exactly what we need, Thera said. Not a teacher. Not a scientist. A father who understands what we have engineered away. Stay here. Live among my people. Show them what human parents do. Let them see what we gave up in our pursuit of perfection. Tom looked at Mia, who was building a second arch. And if I say no? Then you will be transported to a colony world with the other refugees, and my civilization will continue its slow death. Thera's voice was steady, but Tom heard the desperation underneath. I'm asking you to save us, Tom Bradley. Not with weapons or technology, but with something far more powerful. Show us how to care again. Tom took a deep breath. This was insane. But then again, everything about the last week had been insane. Okay, he said. We'll stay. But Mia comes first. Always. That's non-negotiable. Empress Thera smiled for the first time, a strange expression on her alien face, like she was remembering how. That is precisely the lesson we need to learn. The announcement broke across every major news channel in the galaxy. Empress Thera stood before the Galactic Council chambers, her 4 arms spread wide, and declared something that made half the council members choke on their beverages. The Centauri Dominion will welcome human refugees as permanent residents and cultural ambassadors. The chamber exploded. A council member from the Krillian system stood up so fast his chair fell over. You cannot be serious. Humans? They're barely spacefaring. They're emotional, chaotic, primitive. They know how to love their children, Thera interrupted, her voice cutting through the noise. Something my people forgot 12,000 years ago. Something that is killing us. The humans will teach us to remember. This is madness, another counselor hissed. You would pollute Centauri culture with... My culture is already dead, Thera said quietly. It just hasn't finished dying yet. The humans offer us a chance to live again. I intend to take it. She left the chamber while counselors were still shouting. The decision was made. The Centauri Dominion didn't need anyone's permission. Within a month, the first human families arrived. Tom and Mia were given an apartment in the capital city, right in the heart of Centauri civilization. Not in some segregated refugee district, but in a normal neighborhood where Centauri families lived. It was Thera's idea. Immersion, not isolation. Tom didn't know what he was doing. He was a mechanic from a colony world, not a diplomat or teacher. But he did the only thing he knew how to do. He lived. He took Mia to the park. He made her breakfast. He helped her with homework. He tucked her in at night and read her stories from a datapad. And the Centauri watched. At first they watched from a distance, confused. Why was this human male spending so much time with his offspring? Didn't he have a career? Important work? The child should be in an educational facility, not playing on swings while her father pushed her and laughed. But slowly something shifted. Young Zentari couple started stopping to watch. They saw Tom teaching Mia to ride a bike, falling, getting up, trying again, celebrating when she finally got it. They saw him sitting on a bench doing Mia's hair before school, his large hands clumsy with the braids but his face focused and gentle. They saw the way Mia would run to him when she was hurt, and how he'd kiss her scraped knee and tell her she was brave. Other human families arrived. The Johnsons moved in 2 floors down. The Patels took an apartment across the street. The Washingtons opened a small restaurant that served human food. Suddenly, the neighborhood was full of humans doing human things. Kids playing in the corridors. Parents calling their children home for dinner. Families eating together, laughing together, existing together in ways the Zentari hadn't seen in millennia. A young Zentari couple, Veth and Kira, lived next door to Tom. They had created offspring 3 years prior, standard procedure, artificial gestation, currently in an educational facility across the city. They saw Veth once a month for evaluation. One evening Veth heard crying through the wall. A child crying. Then Tom's voice, soft and patient. Then singing. The crying stopped. Veth looked at Kira. Our offspring cries during evaluations, he said. The facility sends us reports. They say it's normal developmental stress. What if, Kira said slowly, we brought him home? It started with 1 family. Then 3. Then 20. Zentari parents requesting custody of their own biological offspring, wanting to try this strange human method of raising children at home. The educational facilities didn't know how to process the requests. There was no protocol for this. It hadn't happened in 8,000 years. But Empress Thera made it happen. She changed the laws. She created support systems. She made it possible for Zentari to be parents again, not just genetic donors. The birth rate didn't explode overnight. But it grew. Slowly, steadily. Because suddenly having offspring wasn't just a civic duty. It was something people wanted. They saw the humans and their children, and they felt something they'd engineered away, longing, desire. The wish to have that connection for themselves. 10 years passed like water through fingers. Tom's hair turned gray at the temples. Mia grew from a 6-year-old refugee into a confident teenager, then a young woman. She studied hard, fascinated by the alien biology around her, and earned a spot at the Imperial Academy, the most prestigious school in Zentari space. On graduation day, Tom sat in the ceremony hall wearing the nicest clothes he owned. His little girl walked across the stage in flowing academic robes, receiving her degree in xenobiology with highest honors. He cried. He wasn't ashamed of it. After the ceremony, he found Empress Thera in the crowd. She wasn't alone. She held a small child, maybe 4 years old, with the same golden eyes and pearl-colored skin. The child clung to Thera's neck, shy around the crowds. Your Majesty, Tom said, surprised. You have a daughter. Thera smiled and it looked natural now. 10 years of practice. I do. Her name is Lyra. I carried her myself. We have redeveloped the biological capability. And I am raising her myself. She adjusted the child on her hip, the gesture so human it was startling. No caregivers. No facilities. Just me and her father. Learning as we go. How is it? Tom asked. Terrifying. Exhausting. Illogical. Thera kissed the top of Lyra's head. Perfect. Mia appeared beside Tom, still wearing her graduation robes, her face glowing with pride. Dad, they're saying I might get an internship at... She stopped. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. You never interrupt, Tom said, putting his arm around her shoulders. You're always the most important thing in the room. Thera watched them with those wise golden eyes. You taught us something, Tom Bradley. You and all the other humans. You taught us that efficiency is not the same as living. That love is not a weakness. That the messy, irrational, beautiful chaos of raising children is the entire point. I didn't teach you anything, Tom said. I just loved my daughter. Exactly, Thera replied. And that was everything. Across the Zentari Dominion, in apartments and homes that had been silent for thousands of years, children laughed. Parents sang bedtime songs. Families ate dinner together. The Zentari were learning to be alive again. All because a human father took the last seat on a transport ship and refused to let go of his daughter's hand. Some solutions aren't found in laboratories or council chambers. Sometimes, the answer to saving a civilization is as simple as remembering how to care. How to love. How to be a parent not because it's efficient, but because it matters. and in the end that was enough.